How's it going? This is bigSHow, the God. Not sure why I do that. Haven't been on here for a while, so I thought I'd talk about something. I've been doing other things, so I've as you do. The thought I'd start talking about this the election thing, US election. A lot of friends seem to like talking about it. I'm not really big on it, if I'm honest, but I have a bit of an opinion. It's kind of a little bit more kind of probably as an overview kind of thing, just on from a personality level. I find it interesting. I guess the thing I find the most interesting is how emotional and kind of passionate some people can be about something that I don't know if it makes any difference to you one way or the other, like to you individually, like, and that's just my opinion. Like, I don't know if it matters who's in charge of China to me as an individual. I think there's governing forces and all that sort of stuff going on, and there's political debates and there's dictatorships and all these types of things in history, right? But I'm not sure, me sitting here right now, that's going to matter too much, that should occupy my mind, or my day, or my hour, or my hours, to the point where I'm actually quite worried, or it's invoking emotion from me to whichever level. You could argue this: if it was invoking happiness and fucking making me feel real great, maybe that would do something. But when it's the opposite, you're going to go, well, why am I so into this for others? So that's what I was kind of thinking to myself. So we step through it and you go, okay, there's an election, we know about it, it's advertised in another country or another block of land somewhere over there. Very cool. And they're going to have this vote system, and there's a guy here who they're going to vote for, and we start listening to the background of the people, and it's an evolved over since I was born, I suppose. As in me hearing about elections and how the process goes and what people do and what people don't do. And people run for office and they say they're going to do these things and promote it, and then you vote, people get in, people don't get in, and then people do what they said they were going to do, or they couldn't do what they said they were going to do, or so it gets very perspectivized, and you say, well, no, I achieved this, I got this legislation through, I got that done. So we end up building up this kind of like routine, kind of habit thing that, you know, these things have to be done this way and these things need to be here. And I'm sure they do. But when I'm back to my individual self, I'm just not sure. You know, I just don't know if it's worth the amount of understanding, or worth the amount of time, effort, and energy on something that I don't think I have a lot of control over. I don't think I have a lot of influence over. I don't have much say. I say I have no say. I'll agree that a vote for a particular person or party or whatever you're voting on is a say. It means you have a say. But as an individual, I'd say that's next to nothing. Because you got no say, and then you've got, you know, when the numbers are this much, you know, because if you're talking a percentage of say, so if there's 1 million people voting and I'm one of them, I have 1/1,000,000th of a say, don't I? Out of the million in that area. So there's 300,000, I have 300,000th of a say. And you can say, well, that's something. That's true. You know, buying a lotto ticket is something, gives me a chance. So yeah, and people struggle with that, right? Because I know when I voice that I don't vote, that can be met with some hostility, which is interesting because I thought we had a choice. Well, actually, we do. There's a choice there as well. There's a choice to vote, and there's a choice not to vote. There's a choice of who you vote for. There's a choice not to do it at all. You know, it hasn't been made mandatory. It's voluntary. Last time I checked. So that's interesting. So I have certain friends that are very vocal about that part of it, of not voting. And then we go into another layer of when you actually vote and how and why you come up with that as well. You know, and I like the one where they say, well, you don't have a say because you didn't vote. Okay. No, I chose not to vote. Doesn't mean I don't have a say. We're saying whatever we want. Have an opinion on something. You know, if your 1/1,000,000th of a say gives you the ability to talk out loud about why and who you voted for, and why you didn't vote for someone, has more credence or more weight behind it than someone who didn't vote, it doesn't make sense. You know, because the other part to that is that it's not just having a vote, it's are you qualified to vote? You know, is there a certain level of understanding and awareness that you should have to be able to vote? When I have I look at things, I try to look at things mostly scientifically and use those methods. And generally, you have a process and a system of having some sort of qualification. When we have a committee or form a committee to speak on our behalf and do certain things, they normally have a certain element of proven skills, abilities, know-how, knowledge on the subject matter that they might be doing, right? And then they would have the task of maybe putting people in charge or managing or overseeing or do things like that, right? But it's interesting that you could just have in a voting system just 10,000 people with their own backgrounds and IQs and history and opinions vote for a particular person. Someone will vote because they like the color of his eyes. I'm not sure you're qualified to vote when you're voting on the guy's eye color, or he looks handsome, or he or she's, she's got a nice dress on, or she speaks nicely, or says nice words. So I'm voting for her. So I don't get that. I don't get that at all. I think that's why I'm not saying that any system's going to work. It's a system we have. I'm just not sure. Just not sure on the whole. Is it worth all the effort process when we look at it this way? You could have voted your whole life, every election, and who you've voted for is never coming. Never. Then what say did you have? And then, if you voted and they come in, what say did you have? Your vote, I don't know if it made any difference as an individual that you voted for. Yet you'll say it does. You go, I voted X, and you'll spend the day, month, weeks, you'll be happy about it, that your party got in, and then life will carry on, and then you'll be upset because taxes got raised. But because you voted for that particular person, your party, made decisions, you'll still moan about it or whatever you're going to do, and accept it and carry on. And then if the people you voted for didn't get in, and that same thing happens, you're going to cry a bit louder, or you're going to say, see, I told you. But the result was, probably not much in it, because you don't know the other side now. Especially when you do have this kind of flip-flopping going on. One party's in, then this party's in, we stay with a party, then another party comes in. That doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think it's interesting. And then the bit about the American one is when I really look at that to what I see on on bits and pieces, especially from the people that surface that want to speak on it heavily, you know. They're so ingrained in the whole us and them. There's so much us and them, left and right, blue and red, and Republican and Democratic, and rah rah rah. You know, it seems to take over this whole kind of, you know, me versus us versus them scenario. You know, and they talk about being was it being separated or being so, it creates this conflict whether you want it or not. You seem to be just built in it, especially when you're frustrated and annoyed at people voting for the other people, you know. So you're already building this kind of, I won't say hate, but you're building this kind of negativity. It's just negative, whether you want it to be or not. And I don't know if you can escape it, even if you say you're not negative. When it's us and them, you kind of are. But like sports teams, you know, you support your team, you're into your team, you think your team, and I get it. I mean, I like a particular sports team for a while, and then you kind of, it's everybody else's, it's us versus them, you know. And I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about I'm not sure if that mindset or that kind of structure around being in here, this is your group, this is your team, you know, and then how it spills over to we're better, there's a better group to follow, and then it turns into, you know, why are you following them? They're no good. Oh, you know what I mean? So yeah, I find that a interesting human thing. I like competition, you know. I think competition's pretty cool. It gets you sort of that momentum going, you know, having that competition. But I don't need it as a group. I mean, a group environment it helps and motivates, and team environment, all that sort of thing. It's a group mentality. But you know, it's still me at the end of the day. It's still up to me to do what I'm doing, right? It's great to feed off it for a bit, but I'm not sure when I start feeding off it to a level of, you know, this is everything to me. This is my whole being, you know. Which it could be just me, but that's how some people come across with their belief systems. It's interesting that maybe that's part of the trait and why belief systems are quite, you know, the religious system, especially we look at America again, the religious system and their election system and the us and them kind of makes sense. Frame of mind, you know. So yeah, so that's kind of where I sit with some of those. I question a lot of that kind of, I think it shapes the mindset is what I'm trying to say. And maybe it's worth having a look and seeing why. Why am I so involved with this? Why does this, why does the US election actually matter to me? And people say, no, it doesn't matter to me. Well, you're crying about it for half an hour, talking this, that, and the other thing about it. It's one thing to go, oh yeah, read up on that. That was interesting. But you're sitting there worried. It's if they're genuinely worried about Trump getting in or a particular election, I mean, what difference does it make if he gets in or doesn't get in? It generally does to you. You see, that's what I'm meaning, right? How was that built up? That you're concerned about Trump getting in or a particular person. Yeah, especially, it's already been in there for 4 years. Well, what's happened in 4 years that's made a difference to you? I don't know whether I'm missing something, but it's made no difference to me that he was the president. I don't know if it made any difference to me when Barack Obama was president. That didn't seem to make any difference to me. Unless I'm missing something. Unless the prices, the American dollar was a lot different, or I don't know. I really don't know the difference. Me, sitting here. If someone can show me the difference, you're saying, oh, it made a lot of difference to these people. Maybe. Where's the evidence of that? What evidence do you have for that? I mean, most of the Americans are still free as they were yesterday, weren't they? I mean, it might have affected other nations from legislations that he's passed and things of that nature. Got it. Well, we ain't that. Well, I'm not that. So it hasn't made too much of a difference. I mean, some people will have family over there and stuff. Well, the sun came up and everything sort of kept moving. I'm assuming that with Biden getting in and Trump's going to wander off, Biden's going to be in. I don't think much is going to happen to me with that either. Right? What's all the fuss about? So that's interesting anyway. How we can be skewed off into those sorts of things. Well, something I was going to say to that. Yeah. But so as a demographic way of looking at it, I do think the personalities are kind of the most interesting, especially when of who surfaces. If you look at even with the most recent thing with Trump saying he's not, thinks it's fraudulent and all these types of statements. What I find interesting is how shocked people are about it, about him saying these things. You've had 4 years of the guy, or 7 years of the guy saying things, and this is shocking to you. This is shocking. They've had impeachment things. They've had him say stuff about certain things. He's the wall and all this sort of jargon over a historic 5 years. And today, we're shocked. Oh my God, he's doing this. It's just, and you're carrying on. Why does it matter? It's awesome. It's awesome that's the level we go to. So I thought I'd just put that out there. I'm not saying that that that's going to change anything. Just just a perspective that I have, and probably just explaining the difference that I see in the voting process in a whole, right? And that's how I think about things. Whether it's right or wrong, I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? I guess the premise of my whole speech here is I'm not convinced if I vote or if I don't vote that it makes any difference. Any difference that really makes any difference. How's that? If you're going to tell me I made 1/1,000,000th of a difference or 100,000th of the difference by voting for, red, black, green, this party, that party, well, on that then, if you vote for not those two, so there's not just two parties, right? There's 3, 4, 5 parties to vote for. There seems to be very strong influence to say you're only really voting for 2 out of the 5 or 6 or 7. If you vote for one of these, then you're the same, right? So if you don't vote at all, what's the difference? If that's the case, right? So that's my view. I could change that view over time. I'm not sure I will. But I'm not convinced that me as an individual makes any difference. And in fact, so much so that I think the time and energy that I would have spent on voting or making these decisions and debating it and thinking over it is that instead the energy is spent on I just continuing doing what I'm doing, right? Which I think is more beneficial to me. Now, others will argue that and say, well, look, all I do is go to the booth, tick a box, and finish it. And it's done. It's done. Move on. Yeah, and in a sense, that's the issue. Is that I don't just do that. If I was going to bed, but I'd be educated on it. I would research it. I would look into it. If you're not doing any of that, and you're just voting based on the last piece you just read, or my mum's always voted for them, so I've always voted for them, so I'm always voting for them. I'm not sure about that. You know what I'm saying? That's the bit that I think if you're doing that, then you're not much different to me. That's all. Oh no, but I did vote. What research, what education did you do? What thing? And are you qualified? You see what I'm saying? Then I'm not sure that system is the way to go. That's all. So in a nutshell, I'm saying that I don't think 50% or more of the population are actually worthy to vote. That's what I think. I belong to clubs, and I don't think 50% of them would be educated enough to make a decision on who should what decision the club should make next about a particular subject. Correct? That's why you get someone else to do it that you think is qualified in there. Yeah. So anyway, I think I'll carry on.